Hello, everyone. It's Larry Kotlikoff here with my one of my favorite co-authors. I have hundreds, and Terry's certainly the most fun, I think, of all my co-authors, and perhaps the most brilliant. Terry Savage, the renowned Terry Savage from savagetruth.com. Terry is a remarkable person. You should go to terrysavage.com. You can read about Terry's remarkable career. She's the author of, first of all, she's a nationally syndicated columnist, an expert on personal finance, the economy, and markets. She writes a weekly personal finance column that's syndicated all across the country by the Tribune Content Agency. So it comes out in the Chicago Tribune and papers everywhere. She's authored 4 best-selling books on personal finance. I guess the most famous of which is The Savage Truth on Money. And another recent book is The Savage Number, How Much Money Do You Really Need to Retire? And she's also co-author of The New Love Deal. I'm not quite sure. I haven't looked at that one yet. One of her terrific books is called Social Security Horror Stories that she co-authored with me and that was featured on 60 Minutes. And it's all about Social Security clawbacks, some of which were dealt with by Commissioner O'Malley before he's just resigned. And hopefully his solution will stay in place, but it only deals with about a third of the problems. But the book is really worth getting at Amazon, Social Security Horror Stories, because it talks about all kinds of horror stories that go beyond the clawbacks, about a third of the clawbacks that the commissioner tried to help deal with. Terry is a great speaker, as you'll hear. She's been on my podcast before. She's been on TV. She's on TV all the time, radio all the time, in Chicago. But I think the thing that people don't know about Terry right off the bat
Uh-oh.
is that she has an extensive career in finance, in hard-nosed, real-world finance. She started her career as a stockbroker and became a founding member and first woman trader on the Chicago Board Options Exchange. That's really something. The first woman trader on the Chicago Board Options Exchange. She was also a member of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange International Monetary Market, where she traded interest rate futures and currencies. She now serves on the board of directors of the CME Group, the parent company of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. She also has served on boards of McDonald's and Pensoil Corporation. So she's
Okay.
with the world. But as you'll hear, and as you've heard before on the prior podcasts, she speaks very plain English. This is her gem, her secret magic, the ability to talk simply and straightforwardly to people who aren't experts in these different areas. So Terry, welcome and Happy New Year.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you. And I just realized the older you get, the longer your bio goes, and it takes up too much time, but thank you for that generous introduction. I want to, if you're all Kotlikoff viewers that are used to tuning into his very sophisticated podcasts, I'm going to warn you today, and I sort of gave Larry an advance warning. I want to take over Larry's podcast today and turn the tables on him. And I'll tell you what the topic is. Well, first of all, thank you, Larry, for talking about me in such glowing terms about our book, Social Security Horror Stories. That was truly a combination. I consider Larry an economic genius and plan to be at his Nobel Prize winning ceremony whenever that happens down the road. God willing, I'll be around to see that.
Larry is the Yiddish expression, we should live so long.
Exactly. Larry and I come from the same place, okay? Terry said, I did all those things in my early years, and I was very fortunate, and it's given me the freedom to do what I love and do best, which is to communicate with readers, viewers, radio listeners all across the country who go to terrysavage.com, post questions. So just so you know, I'm a true fiduciary. I don't have to do this. I sell nothing. I have a newsletter which I send out when I'm in the mood or something big happens. I don't sell my mailing list. There are no ads at terrysavage.com, no click-through links. And Larry and I don't have any arrangement except one of a great growing friendship and mutual respect. I get nothing out of this. And that's important because I want you to know at the end when I tell you about the one thing Larry, who is also the world's greatest fiduciary, has to offer you. I don't want you to think this is in any way one of those sales pitches I get on Facebook where if I will only buy this tape, my abs will be stronger and my thighs will look like Wonder Woman's. It's not that at all, okay? So with that up at front, I just wrote a column that I went back and forth with Larry, and the topic is Roth conversions. Now, I have my finger on the pulse, literally, of the great middle class, pre-retiree and retiree population. That's who reads newspaper columns, who tunes in on radio. And I'm usually ahead of the curve, understanding people's concerns and write about them. So I've just written a column that I work with Larry on, this whole issue of Roth conversions. The issue is people are hearing about them. They're hearing a headline, something like, convert now, pay your taxes, you won't have RMDs, you won't have to worry about taxes in the future. And they'll hear this a lot of time from their financial managers, and we'll manage your money for you in your converted Roth, I think is the subtitle. And the question is, well, there's three parts I want to take over and get Larry to explain simply.
Okay, sure.
In this webcast, what is a Roth conversion? Number two, what are just the factors, the things you have to keep in mind when deciding whether this makes sense? And finally, how do you decide? Do I do a Roth conversion? Do I do it all or part? Do I do some now, some in the next couple of years? At what age? I could be listening, and I hope you are in your 40s or 50s and going, wait, the whole idea of a Roth is all the money grows tax-free. Maybe it's time to take the tax hit now. What if you're in your 60s, just about to retire? What's the impact on a lot of other financial decisions? So we're going to talk about that, but I want to give you a sneak peek at the end. It's like they do on those infomercials, I think. You need to understand this, but you, nor I, or actually not even Larry, can talk to you on the phone or sit with you like your financial planner and go, okay, we'll ask these 5 questions and here's the decision. There is only one way to get the correct answer about what over the long run is going to be the most beneficial to your entire financial future. And I will tell you right now, we'll explain at the end, it is a multi-faceted, multi-algorithmic program. I will not let Larry try and describe this because it comes out of the genius of his brain that runs all these scenarios at the same time instantly, in which you can get the answer. And you can sit there with your financial planner, your advisor, your spouse, do it on your own. You can get the answer to the question, should I do a Roth conversion, and all those timing questions and so forth. So that's the point of this podcast. I'll probably take this over and cut off all the generous banter at the top and post this at terrysavage.com. But now I'm going to turn this over to my questioning Larry, the genius behind so many financial planning decisions, all right? And so his book, Money Magic, is the one that got me started. Well, actually, no, Get What's Yours from Social Security, which he co-authored with Phil Muller, 2 editions of it. Larry's had a huge impact on the world.
And Paul Solomon.
And Paul Solomon, right. Okay, and just because you really need to know where all this comes home, and I'll post this on my blog, and of course you, if you're a Larry follower, know MaxiFi, MaxiFi.com, is where all the planning decisions, not just Roth conversions, but taking Social Security, what about life insurance, when should you retire? That's all in this incredible program. Today, we're going to talk about optimizing Roth conversions. All right, Larry, let's start with me and my listeners who are going to be basic. Yep. I heard, gosh, you should do a Roth conversion. You have to pay the taxes now, but ever after, it'll come out free and you don't have to take RMDs. And I'm going, well, why would I pay the government taxes on this whole IRA? My old 401k, I rolled into an IRA. I got a hunk of money. Look, I never thought I'd have so much money. You really want me to say to the government, here's all your taxes now?
Okay, let me answer that. But let me just kind of, before I say that, just kind of modify your enthusiasm about genius. The genius really is in economics, going back 100 years to the work of Irving Fisher at Yale, and then major figures like Harry Markowitz and Bill Sharp and Robert Merton and Paul Samuelson and James Tobin, all who won the Nobel Prize.
Everybody, those are famous economists. If you get left off at Econ 101 when Samuelson was the only name you recognized. Go ahead.
Right. And these folks developed over the years, and also John von Neumann and Oscar Morgenstern. Von Neumann helped build the atomic bomb. He helped develop the modern computer. He was complete.
Okay, we believe you. Where does it tie in with Roth?
All that leads to MaxiFi.com. All that's incorporated. So there's economics doesn't have like 30 different solutions. It has one answer that's been developed over a century. So back to your question, why would you pay your taxes now when you can wait and pay maybe at a lower rate in the future, somewhat lower rate? Well, it's kind of like, why would you take your penicillin now in large dose for a week? Because we know that if you don't take it that way, if you take a little bit every day for a couple months, you'll become resistant, and then you'll likely die, whatever it is, infection, or get in worse shape. So there are some things that are highly nonlinear, and taxes and taking antibiotics, nonlinear in the sense that doing something significant right now can make a huge difference, as opposed to doing something small that makes a trivial difference. It doesn't really.
Okay, I suppose you're trying to tell us that in economics, I mean, not emotional economics, but real numbers economics, there's something a little bit non-intuitive, which is to say doing a big thing now and its impact over the future is different than if I just take my RMDs and pay the taxes over the years.
Yeah.
But how do you figure that out?
Well, okay, so let me just make clear where this is all coming from. Why would I want to pay? Maybe I'm in the 12% bracket or some very low bracket right now. I've retired. I'm 62. Maybe I'm going to wait till 70 to take Social Security. I've got some regular assets, but I'm not paying a lot in taxes. Why would I want to? But I have a significant IRA. Why would I want to take that IRA money? Basically take some portion of it or all of that IRA money over a couple of years and move it into a Roth IRA, and everything I move, I have to pay taxes on. That's,
this year.
Yeah, right away as I move it, as I convert it. Well, the reason is that in doing that, you could push yourself into the top bracket, like the 37% tax right now. On the other hand, you're going to, in the future, once the money is into the Roth, every year in the future, as you take money out of the Roth, first of all, it's going to be accumulating tax-free as it would otherwise in the IRA, so that's a good thing. But it's going to reduce how much you have to take out in terms of required minimum distribution. So you have more of it can accumulate tax-free. The money that you're taking out in the future to cover your living expenses is not going to trigger higher Social Security benefit taxation, higher taxation of your Social Security benefits, or any taxation of your Social Security benefits. It's not counted towards forcing you to it's not counted with respect to the determination of how much taxes you pay. It's also not counted with respect to the IRMA Part B Medicare.
All right, I want to go over
it's also not counted. Wait. It also doesn't impact your federal income taxes, because these withdrawals, you already pay taxes on the money that you put into the Roth.
Okay.
And so therefore, when you take it out, you don't have to pay federal taxes, including the accumulated interest. And you also don't have to pay any state taxes, state income taxes. So you get these huge tax breaks that are going over many, many years. So that's where this kind of nonlinear impact is, that I do something significant in the short run. May not be all this year, it could be over 6 years. We have cases that like that where you go big or go home, and you go big by converting everything over a short period of time. And then for all the rest of your life, you're paying less federal taxes, less state taxes, less IRMA.
All right. So I told you I wrote a column. It'll be linked on this podcast, and it's also at terrysavage.com. I know runs in syndication. So I want to go over those impacts because we assume a lot, because we talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit you one-on-one about all these things you've mentioned. Tax brackets. Now, last year or before the election, I think that's what got this. Better convert your Roth, because brackets will go up. Now we have an administration that is not likely, I think we could all agree, whatever else you think, that they will not raise taxes or tax brackets. That's very unlikely. So there's no great rush immediately. But by doing the conversion now with the tax bracket, are you just trying to game the system that in 8 years, a different administration would find itself in debt and raise everybody's tax bracket to 50% or something?
No, because you can run the program assuming that the current tax law remains in place, so we don't revert back to the pre-2017 tax law. And you'll find for many households, very major, tens of thousands. I have a case for a $245,000 reduction in lifetime taxes, even if the tax system stays the same through time, through eternity.
All right.
And when you say there's no rush, there is kind of a rush.
Oh, and I want to get there.
Okay,
go ahead. There is kind of a rush because
that'll be because you have a bigger multiplier. The multiplier is the number of years in which you are paying far less taxes. That's the multiplier here.
All right. Now, does that?
Let me give you an analogy, just real quick.
Okay.
This is maybe crazy, but I'm trying to find. I don't have any instruments. I'm trying to find the highest peak in the Himalayas. I got this huge mountain in front of me, and I think it's it, but I think there might be something bigger. So I climb up over a lot of days. I almost die. There's anyway, I get to the peak and I look out, and there's this multiplied effect because I can see from there the entire Himalayas, and there I see Mount Everest way over there in the distance that I would never have gotten to had I not climbed up this mountain. That's another example of kind of nonlinear global search. You have to look, in our software, we're looking at all possible Roth conversion timing amounts and timing through years.
All right, I'm coming back to Earth. Let's talk about this issue of age and longevity. So let's talk about converting at different ages. It would make sense to me that if I had a child starting to work now, I mean, they're going to get a 401k. If there's a Roth option, I'd say, geez, pay the taxes now and let your Roth 401k grow. Or you don't have a retirement plan at work, open a Roth IRA. That's an obvious one for someone in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. Now you get to someone who's pre-retirement. You mentioned someone who's 62 in a low bracket, but let's say someone is still working and is at age 62. What's the time horizon that person should be considering? The actuarial lifespan? Well, I'll have maybe 25 years till 87, which the Social Security actuaries say is my average age of death. What kind of time perspective do you have that incents you to want to keep growing it tax-free?
The planning horizon, and I left out one of the pantheons of economic life cycle economics, is Menachem Yari, a terrific economist in Israel. He should have gotten the Nobel Prize years ago. He developed the economics of life insurance and annuities, a longevity risk. And economics says very clearly that you have to plan to your maximum age of life because you might make it. You can't, that's the catastrophic risk, because if you do live to, let's say, 100, that's your maximum age perhaps, you have to keep paying for yourself the whole way. Rent, food, clothes, vacations, everything. So that's the worst case scenario. So just like when we think about homeowners insurance, we think about our house burning down. the catastrophic risk or getting cancer and paying enormous bills. We want to get maximum coverage. So that's where the economics is leading us to. Economists very clearly says, hey, the right planning horizon is your maximum age of life. You can't count on dying on time. You can't focus on the average age at which you die. You're never going to die at the average age. You have to worry about the worst case scenario. Nobody dies at the average age, at their life expectancy. But what economics also says is that you take a calculated risk by spending more when you're younger and spending gradually less as you get older because you don't think you're going to make it that long. So that's how economics deals with you say on the one hand, it doesn't make any sense for me to plan this long because my grandparents never lived that long.
Exactly.
Right? On the other hand, you have to. And on the other hand, what it does make sense to do is, hey, the probability is very small, so I'm going to take a risk of, unless I'm super worried about having a lower living standard in the future, taking a risk of having a higher living standard now, a lower one in the future. So, and the software lets you gradually have your living standard decline. You can plan for that.
Okay. See, folks, he is a true economist. He went on the one hand, on the other hand, and on the other hand, because economists, we all know, have 5 or 6.
Harry Truman said he wanted to have a one-handed economy.
Economist, right, exactly. Okay, so the software, these are the key points. The first one was tax brackets. The software adjusts for that. And it's not just about what my tax bracket is now, or even might be later. That's your overall federal income tax. Then we talked about liquidity. And we talked about longevity and how you really need to do some planning for the longer term, which is hard for people to think about. It's one thing to think 80 something. It's another thing to think 90. But, Jimmy Carter died at 100. Okay. Now, the next thing, we talked about specific taxes. Let's talk about the relationship of doing this Roth conversion to the taxes you pay on your Social Security benefits. Now, if you haven't taken Social Security yet, and Larry and I will walk out on any plank and yell, you have to wait till you're 70, don't worry about it running out. If you haven't taken it yet, and you might not be aware of just how much of your Social Security benefits, even though they weren't supposed to be taxed, are taxed. Larry, you might explain that, and then the relationship of doing the conversion before you start taking Social Security, or maybe even the year you do.
Definitely. Let me just backtrack because you said a couple things before we get to Social Security and the interaction. So our software, as any good software should be doing, we're the only economics-based software out there. So I don't know, as an economist, I can't tell you that there's another tool that
Wait, I'll let you talk about it later. I want to talk about these key things. Talk to me about the relationship.
Okay, but an important thing is that people know that we're doing their tax returns every year in the future, year by year. We're not assuming any fixed tax rate, anything ridiculously stupid, because for people to move down into lower tax brackets, we have to figure out run them through the 1040 form 20 years from now, 21 years from now, 22 years from now. We have to project what the tax return, we're running the tax returns. That's one important thing to say. And the longevity, one other thing, which is that you might say,
how did we ever write a book together? This was tough.
I know. We got through it. You might say, well, what value is money when you're 95? It's actually the most value because you're not going to likely have much of any other. You could well have run out, and because you've now experienced this really bad risk, it's the most value because you're likely not to have other money, and therefore your need for money will be the highest. So that's another way to think about why we need to plan to live to our maximum. But going back to your question, if I do a Roth conversion when I am taking Social Security, then that conversion can kick up the taxation of the Social Security benefits. There's 2 thresholds that are quite low, beyond which your first 50 cents on the dollar of Social Security benefits are brought into your taxable income amount. So you're paying taxes on 50 cents of every dollar of Social Security benefits until you've gotten to the next threshold where you start paying 85 cents on every dollar of Social Security benefits. So Social Security benefit taxation can be very important. And if you delay taking Social Security and you do your Roth conversions before you take Social Security, then you're not going to impact your Social Security benefit taxation. And the same thing.
Stop right there. Stop
Yeah.
right there. That's one critical thing. I feel like I'm putting bullet points on the board. When you take Roth conversions while you're also getting Social Security, you for sure you're going to have at least half your benefits taxed, and you could have 85% of your benefits taxed if you have a higher income. So the idea is to think about doing the conversion before you take Social Security. Now, there's one other thing. I wrote a column about this recently. I said, meet IRMA, IRMAA. No, it's not a senior dating site. People who aren't yet on Social Security, and more importantly on Medicare, don't realize the impact of their income on the monthly Medicare Part B and Part D, your drug premium. And that's called IRMA. It's an adjustment based on your income 2 years prior. And that can make, instead of a Medicare premium of under $200 a month, can make it go up to $640 or something like that a month. The
Okay.
IRMA adjustment, I explained it now. You tell me how the program figures this out.
So we're doing the IRMA calculation every year for people that are on Medicare. And the IRMA tax, it's really just a tax. It's called the Medicare Part B and Part D, the basic Part D premium. It's really a crazy tax because let's say I'm 67. They're going to look back 2 years before at what my modified adjusted gross income was, as the special measure of it. And by the way, it incorporates how much Social Security benefits are taxable. That's part of the MAGI. So there's an interaction between these two things, which is nasty. Another nasty thing, which our software will fully incorporate. So you don't have to figure it out. We figure it out for you. Anyway, you go back 2 years. They figure out what your MAGI is, and then they put you into this.
Excuse me, modified adjusted gross income,
Yeah,
including the taxable portion of your Social Security benefits and including the money from
Right.
that big Roth conversion. Keep going.
And
I'm just a translator here.
Yeah, and then they put you into this nonlinear tax bracket system. By nonlinear, I mean the following. If your MAGI, modified adjusted gross income 2 years ago, is $1 too large. There are like 6 thresholds, but let's say you cross one threshold, maybe you're middle income, so it's a moderate middle income level of MAGI. You have $1 too much 2 years ago. Bingo, you're going to pay $1,200 more that year in Medicare Part B premium and Medicare Part D premium. And if you're married, you can also be kicking up your spouse's IRMA by $1,200. So all of a sudden, for that extra dollar, you're paying an extra 24. So this is like a 24,000% marginal tax on that extra dollar.
Stop right there. Stop right there. I just looked it up. I'm just sorry. I'm sitting next to my computer. So the base premium for 2025 is $185 for both single and married joint filers, and up to 106 with incomes up to $106,000 if you're a single filer, and $212,000 for a joint filer. But after that, the premium goes up dramatically. And when you start earning over $200,000, you are going to have a huge premium. So the point is that the income from the Roth conversion impacts the taxation of Social Security benefits. That's included in your adjusted gross income. And all of a sudden, just earning a little bit more jumps you into a significantly higher monthly payment for Medicare Part B and D. Now, we're not going to go into the details.
Converting another dollar could lead you to have to pay an extra $2,400, as opposed to converting an extra dollar may cost you 15 cents on the dollar. This is very different from anything else we have in our tax system. It's very nonlinear. That's why the whole thing has to be, this is like the Himalayas from Mount Everest. You have to search globally. That's why you have to have the right algorithms under the hood.
All right, stop right there. Say that again, please. That was really profound. If you convert and you pay additional taxes, it's an extra what? You say that again?
It could be an extra $2,400 for you and your wife, your husband.
If you have an IRMA adjustment, it's a huge increase. If you just do the conversion that one time, that's a one-time additional tax burden. But the IRMA would go on for a couple of years.
Well, the IRMA you're going to have to pay every year if you're on Medicare, as long as you're alive. And so this IRMA issue continues every year. And how much you're taking out of your Roth money, if you're taking money out of your Roth money when you're 75, that's not going to in fact impact your IRMA.
Oh, but if you were taking an RMD, it increases from a traditional IRA, increases your income, and there you go with IRMA again. It'll be recalculated, but based on that year's brackets and that year's income, they look back 2 years. But RMD is income, and it impacts IRMA every year that it moves.
Minimum distributions from your regular IRA or 401k. But if you've done conversions, significant conversions before, then your RMDs are lower or they could be zero. We have cases. Let me just talk to you about a specific case. It's a 65-year-old friend of mine. He's got $1.25 million in an IRA. He's 65. He's retired. He's got $1.25 million in regular assets. He's single, never married, no kids. That's it. Okay. $1.25 million IRA, $1.25 million regular assets. So if he wants to take Social Security at full retirement age, which is next year, 66, this 2025. If we run the program and ask what the program thinks about that, it says, look, if you wait till 70, you can get $100,000 more roughly in present value benefits and additional benefits because you're taking
over your lifetime.
Early. Okay, so maximizing Social Security, which you can do in our software, raises his lifetime spending by $100,000. But then if he does that, and then if we do the Roth conversion with him taking Social Security early, there's about a $200,000 additional gain. If we do the conversion when he's taking Social Security at 70, there's a $240,000 present value gain in terms of the reduction in taxes. The Roth conversion, the present value reduction in lifetime taxes, which corresponds to the increase in lifetime spending capacity, is impacted by, first of all, it's bigger than Social Security for this particular person.
Wait, stop. I know you lost everybody. Did you tell this guy to convert when he was 70 and taking Social Security, even though it would impact his Social Security taxation? Or did you say, do it now before you're 70 and taking Social Security?
The optimal thing for him to do is to wait till 70, but also to convert, but starting now.
Okay. Do the conversion now. Wait for 70 for your benefits, Social Security. Yeah, but do the conversion now because
when he does the conversion, he actually converts over the next 6 years. This is a case of go big or go home. He converts, and it's very nonlinear. We put him into the top tax bracket, and he's paying a lot of taxes over the next 6 years. Then he's paying far lower taxes and far lower IRMA benefit premiums. IRMA premiums or IRMA taxes, we should call taxes, for the rest of his life. So it's short run pain, long run gain.
Stop right there. Everybody who's listening. Look, I had to be helped through high school algebra. So you know that a lot of this, only the logical part makes sense. What's logical to me is that Larry has developed algorithms that do all this math stuff, which always scares me to death. All these kinds of things. Now, and that's what the program does. So you and your financial advisor can sit there, or you and your spouse can argue about this. You could sit there alone and yell at the computer till you're blue in the face. So wait, about what's more important and what will be the impact on tax brackets and what about IRMA? But there's one other emotional thing that I don't know if you can model, Larry, that goes into this decision about, do I do a Roth conversion? And I want you to talk about this new topic, everybody. So here's where we are so far. we've agreed, because he's smart and he knows, that we have to model for longevity. Number two, Larry used the term present value. His whole program is about not just what the dollar amount is, but the value to you over the rest of your lifetime, and having this money growing tax-free that you're not required to take out. And also, we've agreed that there are some sophisticated impacts on your income taxes, but also on your Medicare premiums, and on the taxation of your Social Security benefits. And so if I were Laura, I would say stipulated, you've got algorithms that can do all that stuff. Now,
Hang on one second. I have to interrupt you, okay? Because
this is how we wrote the book. Yes, go ahead.
You keep referring to me as genius, and you have to realize we have 20,000 economists out there. We're working on these kinds of problems, and I have in my research. So a lot of what the solutions to MaxiFi Planner, the algorithms, were developed as part of my research and working with other economists. So, but the key thing that people need to understand is that this is a black box, but it's also a black box you can test in real time sitting there. And here's how you test it, which is you run this guy, I'm not going to call him Joe, he's a friend of mine. You run his case, you say, okay, Joe, this is going to increase your lifetime spending by $300,000 or something. And here's your MaxiFi conversion plan, which is convert everything over 6 years in this particular amount every year. And then he incorporates that into an alternative profile. And then he can set up yet another alternative, can copy that one, set up another one, and then modify the Roth conversions, more in some years, less in others, more in total, less in total across all.
And the bottom line is,
and then when he can compare it with the other one, with the one where he didn't modify, and see that his lifetime taxes have gone up in almost all cases. We're not saying we've gotten the top of Mount Everest has some boulders, has some rocks. So we don't know exactly the very highest, and it's changing all the time, right? Because there's rock falling from somewhere, maybe the sky, or somebody leaves some big.
All right, stop right there. We got the point being,
basically the top of
you can compare the amount of taxes you'll pay over your lifetime likely and the amount of spendable income.
You double check. You can
double check by big. Okay. Now we've come to a really critical point. So that's why I say, folks, that I consider this genius, because it's so far above my pay grade. But I believe that you have the algorithms to do these interactions and to model. But I don't want to do that. Maybe I should wait. What's the impact? So you can do that all just like that with a click instantaneously. You don't have to send it in or something. Okay. Here's the one intangible factor I wanted to get to. It's tangible and intangible. So we're talking about, now this is going to be complex, folks. This is the issue of, where does the money come from if I have to write the government a big check now? So let me use round numbers because my math is terrible anyway. Let's just say I have $1 million IRA and I have $500,000 in my money market account. Okay, it could be stocks, it could be T-bills, but 500,000 liquid after-tax money in my account, money market. Now, the program says go big. You are 67 and you're going to wait till 70, but you're retiring next year at 68. So next year at 68 would be the optimal time. You are planning to live on savings. You're going to have some income from interest and dividends, but your salary is going to go away. So next year, I'm just guessing, this is what you can't guess, but let's just say it happens that way, that next year, Terry, is going to be a very low income year. So convert your $1 million. Well, I'll have Medicare, but that's something to think about. But okay, wait a minute. So convert your $1 million IRA, and let's say you owed 30%. I mean, the 30% tax bracket on the $1 million. So where does that money come from? Because if I convert, and then do I take $300,000 out the following April or quarterly or whatever it is to pay those taxes? Do I convert the whole million and take $300,000 of my chicken money, my safety net, and pay the taxes and feel a little constrained about only having $200,000 for living expenses when I'm not working? How do you think about it, and how do you do that?
Okay, so the program is very sensitive or careful about cash flow constraints, which is what you're referencing. You just don't have the cash to pay the taxes on the conversion.
Well, you do, but the point is, what's
Okay.
the emotional impact as well as the financial impact
So-
of giving the government that huge check?
So it's a couple things. So when you run the conversion optimization, when you click on the report, you run a report, and then you click on a report next to it that says maximize that profile. And you have an option to maximize over Social Security, over Roth conversions, over when you start your non-Roth withdrawals. So let's say you click on optimize Roth conversions. Well, for each case, we ask, are you willing to take a reduction, a short-run reduction in your living standard in order to reduce your lifetime taxes and increase your lifetime spending? And somebody might say, no, just optimize subject to my living standard never falling. And for this guy I was describing, that's the case. His living standard never goes down. It always goes up a lot because he's getting this extra 300K or so. For other people, it would go down, and you can say, well, optimize subject to my not taking more than a 10% short-term hit. So the program, and it might turn out that for some people, they just don't, they're too cash flow constrained for this to be a good idea for them. Now, for other people,
Maybe, in other words, maybe does the program ever say, given your circumstances, probably don't convert?
yes, it does. Yes. And I thought that's what was going to be the case for me, but my wife and I, Bridget and I, but I'll explain about that it's not, even in our case, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. And I'm 73, so the program is saving us like $250,000 in lifetime taxes, even because my maximum age of life we have is 100, and Bridget's 8 years younger, so we have a lot of time, a lot of multiplier here. So the other thing you can do is start your withdrawals from your retirement accounts early. In other words, take additional withdrawals to help you pay the taxes. Now, most of that money, the additional withdrawals to help you pay the taxes on the conversion, those additional withdrawals are going to trigger taxes, but then the money that's left after paying that, you have to use that to help pay the taxes on the conversion. So that's another thing.
Oh, wait, don't go there. So I got it. But
that's easy. Yeah.
So maybe I only convert a portion, but in order to pay the taxes, I have to take a withdrawal, no penalty. I'm over 59 and a half. Pay the taxes on the withdrawal, use that money to give to the government to pay the taxes on the conversion. I want to ask you a very big question.
You can model this easily and compare it.
Okay.
With not doing it.
Here is where except for all of Larry's sophisticated followers, but it's going to go up at terrysavage.com. Here's where you and I go crazy, because what I want to ask you is what's, I think, on everyone's mind. That's my only gift, not being an econ genius, is none of this intuitive? Is not here are the intuitive concerns I and people have. I don't want to give my money to the government now. Tax brackets might change. I might not live a long time. Why would I have paid all of this out and my heirs could get it? They'll have to pay taxes eventually. I think what you're saying is, Terry, lay aside your very intelligent, but intuitive fears and concerns that you raise about giving the government your money early, about all the stuff you can only pray and guess about, and trust, if you want, the calculations that take all of those intuitive fears into account and will tell you, number one, this is what we recommend for a Roth conversion strategy. Depending on what you say, and you can model it multiple ways easily, it may say, hey, don't do it. Paying all that taxes out now is not a good idea under your circumstances. Or it may say, perfect time to do it next year, the year after you retire, when you have no income. Go big, do it all then, because yeah, they'll look back 2 years, you'll get an IRMA adjustment later when you're on Medicare and so forth. Or do it over 3 or 4 years, or only do half of it. You are telling me, I want you to tell me that the answer is, I go to MaxiFi.com alone, or with, which people do alone, they'll let you do a commercial, or with my financial planner, and run these scenarios.
Yeah.
And it will give me the best idea, or allow me to modify and adjust for, but I don't want to be poor now just so I can have money when I'm maybe 97. And it's easy, right?
Well, we have tens of thousands of people have used it. We developed this over 31 years. This takes lots and lots of effort. I developed this in order to do research. I've done lots of research studies with lots of co-authors. So you have to realize where I'm coming from. I'm also somebody who runs a company with 10 employees, and I've never taken a penny in salary from the company. So I'm not interested, this is sounding like a bit of, as you said at the beginning, we don't want this to sound like a commercial, but it's going to sound a bit like a commercial. But you're not making anything from this, and I'm not making anything from this either. If the company got bought out by Fidelity, if they were smart enough to do that, yes, I would make some money, but they're not interested, apparently. They're not yet. And I do have 2 relatives working for the company. So there's all the conflicts of interest should be clear to people. But when you say trust, you should trust this program. You should not trust this program. You should double check the program, because the program lets you double check. It lets you double check by changing the Roth conversion pattern and amounts compared to what the program is suggesting, but it also lets you check every year's tax calculation. And when we talk about the present value, you can check all the details of every year's tax cut. You can drill down, and we have people doing that. And we have some.
Wait, all right, start over.
A guy last week from Rhode Island who said you left out these 2 deductions in the Rhode Island tax return. They're kind of minor.
Oh, state taxes too. We didn't talk about, and state taxes are included on your state of residence. Larry.
So we fixed it, okay? But we have people double checking our taxes all the time, okay?
All right, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If we're just whistling in the wind here. I think by now you figured out we are 2 sides of the same coin. He's the heads. Anyway, why isn't all of Wall Street seriously beating a path to your door? I wonder that.
I'll give you the answer. But let me go back.
Give me the answer, quick.
Okay, Wall Street has a methodology for getting you to hand them your assets so that they can manage them, quote, manage them, and charge fees. Typically 1%, could be 2%, could be enormous. If you talk about all your money times 1%, that could be 20, 30, 40K a year that you could be giving to your kid who's a high school teacher. And I have people I know are in exactly that boat, are wasting their money. What they do to get you hooked onto giving them your money is they set a spending target. They don't tell you, hey, tell us your resources. We're going to tell you what you can afford. And then we're going to see if we're going to maximize those or raise that spending by lowering your taxes and raising your benefits. Instead, they say, what would you like to spend? And I say $1 billion a minute if they ask me that question. And they say, well, let's use this tried and true replacement rate formula. It's a rule of thumb. And now they set your spending target up here. And now next thing they say is, well, you can't make your spending target the way you're investing. Invest with us, and we're going to get you a higher yield with very high probability you're going to make your target. But there's still a significant probability that they don't really emphasize that you'll be destitute in retirement, which they don't talk about. No economist teaches this stuff. No economist thinks this is fiduciarily responsible. And we all view this as malpractice. This is why no top business school, no top economics department will teach conventional personal finance. And it's the entire industry. So now that they've got this target set, when it comes to Roth conversions, they do not know what to do, because if you convert what you want to do is have tax breaks in order to raise your spending, but the spending is set on autopilot up here. So what they do is assume that every penny of tax savings is going to be saved to leave as a bequest. And what if you don't have any kids, or what if your kids are doing better than you? It makes no sense. So our software is saying, we're not going to give you a target. We don't even ask you what you'd like to spend. We say what you can spend on a sustainable basis based on the profile you'd like to have per household member, the spending per household member, discretionary spending. And then we ask, can we raise it? And then we talk about your investment risk if you're investing in risky assets. We do all this under assumptions that you're investing in inflation index bonds that are earning basically a 2% real return, which is what the market's currently yielding. So this is what's going on with Wall Street. They have a methodology that doesn't let them really give you proper advice on anything, because anything you do, retire later, take Social Security later, downsize your home, switch jobs, go to this college versus that college, all of it changes your spending capacity. So your spending has to be adjusting, but when you adjust your spending, that changes your taxes. It changes your assets and your asset income, and therefore your taxes. And that also affects your life insurance. So all these things have to be calculated simultaneously and consistently, and that's why we got a patent for our main algorithm, and the Roth conversion algorithm is using the main algorithm to find its solution. So this is, this sounds like a lot, but if you think about the Brooklyn Bridge, they had some very good people who knew a lot. This is going back a long time, could figure out how to build that thing to last forever. That's an amazing piece of work. And that's why, we have something called economics, and that's why people have to study it for many years. And a lot of it is from day one, learning about algorithms, solving problems like this. And I just happen to have decided to have worked on a study of life insurance adequacy with another colleague, and said, we could use this to provide advice and this idea, but we were like miles away from what was needed to provide the advice. And then he said, no, I don't want to get into anything commercial. And then I found another colleague, and
here we are 30 years later.
And he also backed out because this was very hard slugging.
Everybody, time out. Everybody. The result, the bottom line, is a patented main algorithm and multiple other patented algorithms. This is all I get from this, running simultaneously.
One patent.
One patent and multiple other algorithms interacting in a way your brain and your pencil and your calculator cannot do. I just realized this. This is not artificial intelligence. This is real intelligence. You just saw that. Now, if you are one of Larry's regular podcast viewers, and he has really terrific podcasts, so you can go to which website for your podcast?
LarryKotlikoff.substack.com.
Larry Kotlikoff. I'll put links. Kotlikoff.substack.com. I mean, this is fantastic. Or you can, if you want to sit and read about this concept of planning, so foreign to Wall Street, judgments about what college you go to, what city you should live in. That book, Money Magic, from 2 years ago, which just explains a whole new way of thinking without the numbers so much in there, but it's really a thinking process. I am not trying to sell you the Brooklyn Bridge, nor is Larry. He's a great admirer of the Brooklyn Bridge. I've heard him use that. Here's what I want you to do. You go to MaxiFi, MaxiFi.com. You can, is there a trial? How do you do that, Larry? I've never gone to this.
You just sign up. It's the premium version, which is $149 for the license for the year. Will run your family. If you're an advisor, it's $599, which is about a quarter of what the other companies are charging. And if you're not happy, you send me an email at kotlikoff@gmail.com. I want a refund. We refund it immediately. We only want happy customers.
And a real ordinary person, not just necessarily an economic genius. can sit down and do this with whatever knowledge you
We
have.
have tons of, there's hundreds of testimonials on our website from people that are just using it themselves without any advisors. The problem is the advisors need to have some training to, some of the advisors don't know enough. They need to run it for themselves and need to have some training. We have office hours every week or 2 weeks, all throughout the year. Either I or another economist in CFP, Jay Apolofia, do them. So people come on 100, 110, 150 at a time and are asking questions for an hour and a half. And so we're helping people all the time with any issues, but there's also immediate emails, support by, you just click a help icon that's green on every screen. So we have excellent customer support. People get the support they need. We have all kinds of videos. There's a learning center. 31 years, of developing this, we've made it very simple. All the inputs are like a wizard, just like an Intuit. One question after the next, after the next. So
Okay.
this is,
All right, folks, wait, time's running out. All I want to say is that you understand now, I think Larry is the God of economics. I'm just his disciple. If you're at terrysavage.com, you will find links to the column about Roth conversions. You will find links to Larry's Substack where you can read his, watch his other podcasts. You should get on his mailing list. He sends you great stuff all the time. You should, this is not to take you away from your financial advisor or broker. Your broker or financial advisor probably doesn't know there's a better way because that's what the firm gives them. So if you have a good relationship with your financial advisor, bring the advisor along. It's a money back guarantee. Larry and I share the same goal to give you the best, unbiased, fiduciary financial advice about making the most important decisions of your life. So now it's up to you. Larry, thank you for joining me on what turned out to be my podcast. I'm Terry Savage. Find me at terrysavage.com, and that's the Savage Truth. And I will give you the final word, but just a short word, Larry.
oh, well, I want to thank you so much. And you said so many lovely things, which many of which are like over the top about me. But what you said about the software is not over the top. Economics, if anybody opened up a top economics theory journal, they would see mathematics that was beyond, the same level of what you see in math journals. So this is a very technical discipline, and we've been doing computational engineering and financial engineering for years. I'm the only one who really said, did the crazy thing of saying, could we incorporate all these details about Social Security, IRMA, Rhode Island state income taxes, the fact that Washington state doesn't have one, the fact that New Hampshire just taxes asset income, they don't tax wage income. All those details over, and they're changing, and keep things up to date and deal with inflation properly and the non-indexation of the system. Well, the reason I did that was I'm basically crazy, and partly I could see all the fantastic research things we could study with this tool. And we've been working with the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta for the last 6 years, putting out one terrific study, new insights about inequality, about marginal tax, about work disincentives and saving disincentives, about taxing marriage, about inflation's interaction with the tax system. So if you go to kotlikoff.net, which is my academic website, you'll see these articles. Thank you so much, Terry. It's been a delight as ever. And we will be back together shortly.
I love working with you, Larry. Thanks to all of you for sticking through this. I hope it changed your life.